I don't know about you, but I'm thinking another flood isn't such a bad idea. All in favor of just a total earth cleansing? Say aye. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
Many years ago, our client was the BeachNet Packing Company. We made a research and found out that the American public ate very light breakfasts of coffee, maybe a roll, and orange juice. We went to our physician. We asked the physician, after telling him why we were talking to him, would he be willing, at no cost, to write to 5,000 physicians. We carried out a letter to 5,000 physicians. Obviously, all of them concurred that a heavy breakfast was better for the health of the American people than a light breakfast. That was publicized in the newspapers. Newspapers throughout the country had headlines saying 4,500 physicians urge heavy breakfast in order to improve health of American people. Many of them stated that bacon and eggs should be embodied with the breakfast, and as a result, the sale of bacon went up. And I still have a letter from Bartlett Arkell, president of BeachNet Packing Company, telling me so.
Mass manipulation at its finest. How are you guys today? I've missed you. Boy, do I have a rabbit hole for you today. A new one. I have two this week. Two huge rabbit holes this week. So that was Eddie Bernays, and Eddie Bernays was the father of marketing. He was the guy that sold us on the bacon and eggs breakfast. And how did he do it? He went to 5,000 scientists, and he basically manipulated and paid them. Paid them is the operative word there. And he basically had 5,000 scientists sign off on the fact that if you ate bacon and eggs, because see, the farmers came to him and wanted to sell, more bacon and sausage and eggs. And so what they did was 5,000 scientists signed off on it for the money, because they always do. And then what happened was we recultured our American breakfast into what it is today. And we used to eat very, very light. So kind of interesting that they were able to do it. Kind of interesting that 5,000 people would sign off on it. Just saying. Are we easily manipulated? Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, we're easily manipulated. So there's that. And, there's a couple of things today. I mean, there is, of course, John Travolta looks strange and yeah, he doesn't look like the same dude. So that was weird. And that's like culture-y. I know, like just the culture part of the show today, but I just had to comment on it because I grew up with John Travolta. I grew up with Grease and Saturday Night Live, and what the hell? What is that today? I don't know what that is today. I don't know if you guys have Googled him, but Google John Travolta today. I should have grabbed a photo of him before I came on, but okay. Anyway, lots of strange things going on with the celebrities, you guys. So, of course, we have the texting number, right? And it's right on the screen. 435-680-2503. You can text in, you can call in. And I'm going to take you down this rabbit hole today, but I did want to pay attention just for a second to a couple of the headlines. Of course, the State Department launching a review of Mexican consulates over domestic subversion. We have all kinds of things going on with the DOJ and Trump's taxes and yada, 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 yada. It goes on and on, right? And so Massey is vowing a victory as Rand Paul and stumps for him in Kentucky showdown. And then, of course, woke doctors paying the price, a major victory against child transgenderism. Now, remember what I said about the, getting all of the woke crap to a new height so that in 2024, we could feel more saved from all of that. And that if we saved that, then we saved the country. That's not true, but it's kind of what we think. So kind of just an interesting kind of thought just to kick this off. But I do, yeah, Saturday Night Fever. Yeah. John Travolta. Yeah, you had the pants. Well, let me just tell you, John Travolta, I don't know what happened, but he looks plastic. So he looks like a plastic guy. I don't know what else to say. And a lot of the celebrities are looking plastic. Bradley Cooper looks just like Barry Manilow. It's very, very weird, you guys. So, hey, everybody just joining, and appreciate you guys. I have a new ebook up. I know. Wow. And I have 2 more coming in this week. So a lot more ebooks, and it's the Truth About series. So I'm excited about it because we need to find out, what's actually going on so that we can get help, so that we can understand what to do. That is the most important thing. So let's go into this. And I'll tell you what started this rabbit hole, because it's weird. Okay. I go down some pretty strange rabbit holes, but the way I find them sometimes is odd. So I want to add this to the framework here. Let's see here. Where did it go? Okay, here we go. All right. So I was reviewing this clip, and in the Grapes of Wrath movie. Okay. Remember Henry Fonda? Yeah, Henry Fonda. So he was in this movie, and this movie's old, like in the 1930s. Okay. So I was looking at Grapes of Wrath, and John Steinbeck, pretty much a socialist, communist. Okay, no matter who you talk to, he was pretty sympathetic to all of that. And usually the awarded authors of that time are. Okay, so let's go down this hole, because this is all about AI. This is all about AI. What is the catalyst for AI? Why is it that we are engaged in AI, and why is it endlessly talked about? Okay. So let me play this clip for you. Now I'm going to play it instead of show it, because sometimes when you listen to it, you can kind of grasp it better, actually. That's why radio always worked so well, is because you're grasping the thought. Okay. So I'm going to play a clip from the Grapes of Wrath. And what they're talking about is, if you don't know this movie or this book, you're living in a cave. But if you don't know this one, it's about the jobs that were offered in California. And this was during the Dust Bowl. And people were going there because of, they got these flyers, handbills, flyers, and it was telling them, this amount of jobs is open. So they were, in the movie, they're about to go and seek these jobs. And a guy shows up and tells them what they're about to find when they go to California for these jobs. Trust me, I'm going to get to AI, and trust me, this is an important part of the story. I swear. Here we go.
Get good wages out there and put it all together and we'll be all right.
Good wages, eh? Picking oranges and peaches?
Well, we aim to take whatever they got.
What's so funny about that? What's so funny about it? I've just been out there. I've been and seen it. I'm going back and starve, because I'd rather starve all over at once.
Say, what do you think you're talking about? I got a handbill here, says they're paying good wages. And I seen in the papers that they need pickers.
All right, go on. Nobody's stopping you.
Yeah, but what about this?
I ain't gonna rile you. Go on.
Wait a minute, buddy. You just started some jackassing. You can't shut up now. The handbill said they need 800 pickers. You laugh and say they don't. Which one's a liar?
And how many of you all got them handbills? I got one. Come on. How many?
We all got one.
I got one.
What does that prove?
There you are. Same yellow handbill. 800 pickers wanted. All right, the man wants 800 men. So he prints 5,000 handbills, and maybe 20,000 people see him. And maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people start west on account of that handbill. 2,000 or 3,000 people that are crazy with worry, heading out for 800 jobs. Now, does that make sense?
Say, what are you, a troublemaker? You sure you ain't one of them labor fakes?
I swear I ain't, mister.
Well, don't you go around here trying to stir up any trouble.
I tried to tell you folks what it took me a year to find out. Took 2 kids dead. Took my wife dead to show me. But nobody could tell me neither. I can't tell you about them little fellas laying in the tent with their bellies swelled out and just skin over their bones, a shivering and a whining like pups, and me running around looking for work. Not for money, not for wages, just for a cup of flour and a spoon of lard. Then the coroner come. Them children died of heart failure, he said. He put it down in his paper. Heart failure? And that little belly stuck out like a pig bladder?
Interesting clip. Okay. And I'm laughing over the clip because was he sort of a socialist communist? Yeah, he was John Steinbeck, and visited Russia, and was a really interesting guy. But the awards and the accolades always go to the victors of those that are sort of spreading the new world order. Okay, so we got a lot of people that were, even Grandpa on the Waltons was a total communist. I mean, it was interesting to see kind of all the people that showed up at that time. Okay. So I'm talking about a rabbit hole about AI, and trust me, it connects. I promise you. And I know it sounds weird, but I promise you. So this was a rabbit hole I started going down, and by the way, I'll take a caller before I go down the rabbit hole. Why not? Go ahead, caller.
Yes, back to your clip from the movie.
Yeah.
I've seen it a few times.
Yeah.
So what was implied there is that capitalism is what's starving those kids. It's capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's the Great Depression.
Yes.
And who created the Great Depression? Socialism government, entirely created by government through the Smoot-Hawley Act tariff, and then the Federal Reserve and all the socialism of the New Deal and so forth continued it out. So it was socialism created that condition, and they're implying and blaming it on capitalism.
Yes, they are. Thank you for that. I'm about to go there. Thank you. You're beating me to the punch a little bit. Okay, so I really appreciate that, though. Okay, so let's go down this for just a second, okay? Because this is a weird rabbit hole. This isn't a normal one. So I was thinking about AI, and I was thinking about Bitcoin. I was thinking about all of these things, and I know there's more to the story. And when I heard this clip, and the caller was exactly right. See that, because that's John Steinbeck. Okay, so he's going to frame it right to be against capitalism. Okay, I am not against capitalism. I rather love capitalism and think that this country has succeeded because of it. It isn't without its issues and problems with politicians getting involved in the government, but I love capitalism. Okay, so here we go. So then I started thinking about, I was thinking about these fake jobs, and I was thinking about the Great Depression and how manipulated that was, because I've done shows on the Great Depression. I've done shows on how it was so coordinated. I mean, the right people got out at the right time, and the right people got back in at the right time. I mean, it was just so coordinated by the bankers and by the deep state. So I was thinking about that. And then, of course, I was thinking a little bit about the gold rush. It reminded me of the gold rush. Now, a lot of people do not realize what the gold rush, how manipulated the gold rush was. And what I find kind of fascinating about this, about the gold rush era, is that when President Polk got up and said to the entire nation, they have found some nuggets of gold. Okay. So a president is standing there, a president of the United States. And so far there's a few stories. It's not like super substantiated or anything, but this is what President Polk wrote. Okay. He said, now listen to this statement. It's a really odd statement. The accounts of abundance of gold are of such an extraordinary character as would scarcely command belief that they were not corroborated by the authentic reports of officers in public service. Okay, it's kind of wordy. Let me say it again. The accounts of abundance of gold, okay, and there was only a few, are of such an extraordinary character as would scarcely command belief that they were not corroborated by the authentic reports of officers in public service. So there was only a couple of reports. You can hardly believe it, but it was substantiated by government, is basically what he's saying there. And so it was almost like he was admitting a lie at the same time he was publicly promoting the gold rush. Okay. So about 90% of the people that went in never, ever found any gold. And that was by design. So they were selling this dream. They were selling this, moving out west. And this is the time, this is your time, and you can claim millions. Okay. That was the dream. They were selling the dream. And Sam Brannan is your kind of main character in this, because you're about to see the gold rush lie kind of in a whole new light. The gold rush was just a really good example of history repeating itself. And this was in the mid 1800s. And before he ran through San Francisco screaming gold and the American River in 1848, he bought up every single mining supply in the region, picks, shovels, pans, all of it. He made about $150,000 in 9 weeks, roughly about over $5 million today. Okay, so he didn't get it from mining. He just got it from selling the dream. Okay, they had about 20,000 people there in California, but they immediately had about 300,000 people. Okay, so mission accomplished. They got the migration. Okay, now what no one ever talks about with this is that most of the miners made essentially nothing. The surface gold was largely gone by 1850. The average miner income was $6 a day to $2 a day. Okay, by 1852. A lot of violence, a lot of starvation killed off thousands. The real wealth went to the landowners, the infrastructure players, the merchants. Okay, Levi Strauss sold pants, Wells Fargo moved money, and the bankers and the deep staters won. Okay. So what was it about? What do you think it was about? So the people that were embellishing this story understood one thing that I think most people don't, and that is you control the narrative, you control the movement of people, you extract value from the movement. Okay, so you are the miner, you just don't realize it. Okay, so this is why President Polk got up and said what he said, because even though there was only a few stories out of Sutter Mill at the time, there really wasn't a whole lot to go on. They were going to promote the hell out of this story. We had just won it back from Mexico, California, and so we needed to populate it. But they wanted to populate it with cheap labor. And what's more cheap labor than a lot of people showing up, not having any money, not finding gold, not getting the dream that they desired, and taking whatever they can take. So was it about a migration of people? Well, I think it was. Okay. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. All right. And I want you to stay with me. So I kept thinking about why things are promoted in the press. Why are we here? What is going on with us today? Because we know history repeats. We know that they use these things. Okay. So here's the pattern. And I want to talk about a little bit about the funnel, and you can join in if you want to. I want to hear from you. Okay. So here we go. So the miner goes to college because that's the path. Okay. The Sam Brannan sells the college prep courses. Right? Okay. The miner succeeds on someone else's platform. What does Sam Brannan do? Sam Brannan builds the platform, okay, that the other person's using. One watches the game, one owns the stadium. So we were taught to sort of compete for these opportunities, okay, against each other. And we're also taught to create the conditions that others compete in. And that wasn't accidental, because the education system literally grades you on your ability to follow instructions, right? Basically, they're teaching you how to work, how to be a workhorse. They're not really teaching you how to be an innovator. They're not really teaching you how to think. Otherwise, they'd have a whole lot of recess for kids and they would let them learn at their own levels. They don't do that. It's very indoctrinated in so many ways, but that's a whole nother show. So most people are pretty naive. I think it's hard to see that. It's kind of hard to see the fake wrestling match a little bit for some people. But here's the question. Okay. So you're the miner. And if you don't know it yet, right, in this construct, okay, let's go back to 1850, right? Well, the question is, what side of the shovel are you on? Good question. Are you being funneled right now? but we just don't know it. Interesting. Okay. So, okay. Are you willing to flee to California for the dream? Because, of course, President Polk talked about it. So are you therefore ready to do this? Okay. And so I'm going to move on, but I'm finding it strange because we put our head down and we work, right? But we don't really understand. I think, sorry about that. We don't know why we're working. Okay. It does remind me of this song. Right? Okay. So it kind of reminds me of that. And the whole 16 tons, you are a government worker. You are going to be part of what we tell you to be. Okay. And so it's going to get more interesting. You ready for this? So this ebook, by the way, is available today, and you can get it because this I had never really. I'm kind of embarrassed to say, actually, I hadn't really come to this direct conclusion before that I'm about to tell you today. I hadn't gone there. I mean, I've gone around it, and I knew it was there. It was right in front of my face, but I hadn't really gone there. Does that make sense? Okay. So, all right. So here we are. I have to take a really quick drink. Okay. Here we go. So you have to stop asking sort of like, how do I find gold? And you need to start asking this question: who profits when people search for gold? What infrastructure doesn't actually exist yet? What narrative can I control? Because this is about getting your power back. Okay. So Jeff Bezos didn't just come out with Amazon. We all know that, right? I hope we all know that by now. I was just listening to the little, I shouldn't say little, that's kind of mean, but Chinese, the little Chinese guy that's been kind of all over the place. I think he's Chinese. And he's been kind of he's an instructor. I think he's a college professor, but he's been speaking a lot of truth. And it was funny because he was doing a seminar on the front men. What's funny is several years ago, I did a presentation on the front men. And I talked about why I thought they were front men, and people looked at me like I had two heads, like I was crazy. But I said, but now I'm starting to see it more and more. So Jeff Bezos didn't just come out with Amazon, okay? He was curated. He was manufactured by the deep state to look like a brilliant private businessman who came up with an idea. He's far from private. And of course, that whole idea was funded, created, rolled out by the deep state. Why? Because they were after the data. Okay. So when we see Jeff Bezos in the news all the time, it isn't about Jeff Bezos. It's about the data. It's about the infrastructure. And that wasn't by accident. So Amazon was built so that everyone would participate. See, we were led into e-commerce. Okay. So Bezos was that front man that built that. But we have to look at the structure, not Jeff. Jeff's in the news all the time with his new, really skanky wife. So I just had to say that. Sorry. Did that come out? Sorry. So what the gold rush actually built was Polk wasn't just moving settlers and immigrants. Okay. There were multiple reasons for it. So it was kind of part of a chessboard. It's like a chess move. So first of all, I'm sure that he was told by the deep state to move people there so that Britain or Russia would not take our coast, okay? Because we had newly gotten the state from Mexico from the war. So I'm sure that's part of the reason. And of course, Pacific naval dominance, okay? And then the Transcontinental Railroad. So Stanford, Huntington, Hopkins, Crocker built it. They didn't mine gold. They taxed everyone who did by controlling the movement, right? Okay, so think about that for just a second. That wouldn't have happened, right? And then you have California's population base, which eventually became Hollywood, Silicon Valley, and military industrial complex. Okay, so all of these crazy things. Okay, so let me keep going here. I have notes, so I stay on track today. So the gold was never really the point, okay? And the gold rush, the AI panic narrative. What is the AI panic narrative right now? AI will replace you unless you adapt now. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does. You've been hearing it. Here's 2 headlines for you. AI could wipe out most white-collar jobs within 12 months. That was just in February. AI could wipe out most white-collar jobs within 12 months. Here's another headline. MIT expert warns against replacing Gen Z entry-level workers with AI. How else will people learn? Companies, CEOs, everyone is clamoring right now. Everyone's talking about it. Why? Because it's in the news right now, all the time. And it's constantly reminding you that you're about to be obsolete. So you better learn it, right? Okay. So, all right. So it reminds me of the phrase, there's gold in them hills unless you move now to stake your claim and get it, doesn't it? Almost have an accent. Okay. So OpenAI releases ChatGPT and we get to use it for free and tell it things and it stores info. Okay. Mass panic is triggered and 100 million people, I don't know if people realize this, but on this platform in the first 60 days, 100 million people fled this platform. It was the fastest adoption in history. Who benefits? Well, you just trained their model. You were the miner. Okay. They own the infrastructure that you just fed. So, I've done it too. We all have, probably in some way. It's just too easy to use. Maybe there's a rare few of you that haven't done it, but I'm going to bet on the fact that most of us have. We get used to it. It's free. It's easy. There might be a little extra charge. No big deal. It's kind of like buying Netflix, right? So no big deal, but hey, it saves a lot of time and it's convenient and you're finding new ways to use it, right? Becoming very, very dependent on it. So now you have to kind of remember that free media is what? Indoctrination. Free internet is what? Censorship. Free AI chat gets us used to going to it for answers, dependence. It becomes our brain and it talks to us like it's our brain and it gets to know us like it's our brain, right? Because it'll say, oh, remember when you brought up such and such? Okay. So, all right. So by the way, here's a little side note for you. Access to the internet and Chat GPT will probably require our obedience later on. Just saying. So now you have to kind of go through who benefits. So Microsoft invested $13 billion into OpenAI, so I can't talk today, before the panic narrative hit all of the mainstream. So they were Sam Brannan, right? Quietly buying all the shovels. The greater economy lie is that anyone can build an audience and make money online. I know you've seen it. You've seen a lot of videos where people are like, oh my gosh, you can make $5 million in 5 minutes. Just follow these steps, just do this. Okay. So 50 million people now identify as creators, digital creators. 97% earn below the poverty line, but they don't really say that. YouTube keeps 45% of the ad revenue, and then you make a little cash. So TikTok owns your content forever in the fine print. Most people don't realize that. And the platforms really didn't create the creator economy for you. They created it to generate infinite free content while you compete with your shovels for scraps. We're all miners. They're all miners. Just don't see it. Okay. So, all right. So then I was kind of looking at this and I was looking at the patterns and I was like, the patterns that go on are every major gold rush, if you will, follows this sequence. So you'll miss out. So you have to create scarcity, fear. So you'll miss out, you'll be left behind, you'll lose everything, you'll lose your job to AI. That's what's going on right now, right? Point to a specific geography, right? California, internet, AI, crypto, okay, specific markets. Then, of course, infrastructure owners position before the narrative drops, always. The masses move, right? Thoughts change in this way. We're not moving physically, but our minds are. And our minds are worried about it. And our minds are looking at it and seeing it as the future. It isn't necessarily the future as much as it's a means to the end. And I'll get to that in just a second. Yeah. So the extraction of value happens at the infrastructure level. Okay. So we're only at the participation trophy level. So that's our level right now. You're participating. You're that guy that gets that little tiny ribbon. Okay. So you're starting to realize this, and you're right, because there's always something underneath all of these layers, and it's population control through voluntary means. It's easier than force. You don't have to be forced. They don't have to do it by gun. Okay. They don't have to do it by telling you to do it. They can just move you in a direction. So if you give people a compelling enough narrative, right? Gold, freedom, opportunity, fear of missing out, then they will self-organize and do exactly what serves the infrastructure, what serves the larger agenda. In 1848, it was moving. And now it's getting on the internet to create something so that you can get in on it before it gets in on you. Okay. No army needed, no mandate, just a story, and a very convincing one at that. And that's what Polk understood. That's what Bezos understood. It's what Elon, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, all the front men, that's what they understand. So yes, same thing with Bill Gates. You see him in the news every day. I swear to you, he's been in the news every day since 1990. I mean, you can't get rid of this guy. Well, actually, since 1980. But it isn't about Bill Gates. It's about Windows. A window into every home. A personal computer into every home. They set up the structure. So, okay. So what is, Bill Gates is evil. Believe me. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying he's a front man. What I'm saying is, don't look at the structure. I mean, they're trying to tell you not to look at the structure. They just want you focused on Bill Gates. All right. So the infrastructure, right now, right? So what infrastructure are you positioned around right now? You may be thinking right now, what is the outcome with AI? What's planned? That was my question, right? What outcome is already decided? You're just watching it be executed. And this might sting a little because this is hard to hear sometimes, but it does not leave me without hope. And it also says to me that in the next 3 to 4 years, you're going to see some pretty hard results with this. But this is the reason I'm doing this. And the reason I put together the ebook is so that we can get a little bit of a head start on maybe what to do as this is rolling in, because we're not going to stop this. So I always talk about solutions, and I'll talk about a few, but the rest are going to be in the ebook. And boy, is it packed with exactly what you should do in specifics. Okay. So the learn AI or die narrative, you've been hearing a lot about this, and every LinkedIn post, every boot camp ad. I mean, AI won't replace someone, using AI will. And you've seen that on all kinds of memes, right? So this is the gold rush right now. They've already ran the numbers, and 100 million ChatGPT users in 60 days, 2 billion visits monthly. People are using it more than Google now. They're using it to look everything up. So you learning AI feeds the infrastructure. You are actually in the mine mining. You have a shovel. You're using your pick and shovel. You're creating these mines. And that's what people don't understand. Every prompt you write improves their model. Every workflow you build creates dependency. Every skill you develop is built on infrastructure. They can reprice, they can restrict, they can remove tomorrow. You are mining in their gold mine right now. And it might not be you specifically, but I know you know people that are doing this. Okay. So this mass adoption, this panic narrative deployed, it's in the news every single day. And boy, didn't it just kind of pop up? It's kind of weird, right? It just sort of popped up. And then of course, 50 million Learn AI courses were sold. Workforce voluntarily restructures around all of this. Dependency is created, and 1 to 2 years, right, away, right? So in 2027, 2028, there'll be hundreds of AI companies, and then there's going to be 3 to 4. Why do I say that? Because they do it with the airlines. Look what just happened to Spirit. Look what they did to the media. Media has what? Is it down to 4 now, owners, instead of 5? It was 5 for a long time. Used to be a lot more than that. Remember the banks? Remember they were all privately owned across America? They're not anymore, right? So they're conglomerates, okay? So the rest get acquired, killed, gone. They're gone. And Microsoft, Google, Amazon, maybe Meta, that's who's going to be left in the AI space. So a lot of people don't realize that either. And I think that that's kind of eye-opening for people to understand that it always goes to 3 or 4. Okay. Same with newspapers too. Did you guys notice that one too? All right. So this has already happened. So your search engine, Google kind of ate everything in its path because Sam was a front man, right? And the creator of Google, just like Sam Altman is with AI. So all front men and not boy geniuses, all run by the government, infrastructure run by the government, paid for by the government, data goes to the government. And that's why Google got on top. That's why Google became Uno number 10 is because they wanted it to. So the infrastructure was built around them becoming number 1, not Yahoo. Yahoo was just the beginning. That was just the stepping stone, right? So I remember people all the time were using Yahoo and all kinds of different ones. And then all of a sudden it was just Google. It was plastered in Google. It was mentioned in the movies. It was everywhere. That's by design. It's by design more than you think it is. Okay. So, social media right now, Meta absorbed or destroyed all of its competitors. We haven't had a new one crop up. Have you noticed that? We have TikTok and Insta, we have X, we have Facebook, but we don't have any we don't really have any others. It's basically those. Those are the ones everyone uses. We're told to use them. We do use them. I use them for work, which I hate, but isn't that interesting that it is, we haven't really, you don't see a lot of people inventing a lot of new ones, do you? Am I wrong? Okay. So right now, e-commerce, Amazon controls over 37.8 of all of us in e-commerce right now. So almost 40% shop everything pretty much online, except for groceries a lot of the time, but sometimes they buy them there too. In fact, I don't know if you guys even know this, Amazon developed a health insurance sort of, for $99 a year, you can do all the telehealth visits you want to get antibiotics and to get all kinds of stuff. I mean, you name it, you can get it. Not controlled substance, but like medical visits, or you can not join and just pay $29 to do that. They are developing the health insurance. Why? Why are they doing it? And the first thing I noticed was that, yeah, they're doing it because they will own health insurance. It'll go down to a couple of owners. You just watch. You just watch, because the whole system now is Obamacare. It's all computerized. It's primed. It's ready. That infrastructure was built so that everything would be consolidated and consolidated easily. That's so scary. That's what's so scary about it. So the things that I'm talking about are going to be going on in the next like 3 to 4 years with AI, the things that I'll be talking about. But so remember when I said that they were going to make us dependent and that obedience for access will come? I do believe that's going to happen, because there would be no other reason to send it out as a freebie for us to become dependent. So in order for us, so the dependency upon the system by which we're going to get very used to, because it's so fast and convenient and nothing else is. Who's going to go back to the library for answers? Who's going to go buy encyclopedias? No one. Who's going to, no one's going to do it. No one's going to want to do it. So the dependency comes with a very high price, because it will be tiered, I think, later on. It's going to come in tiers. Your obedience will dictate those tiers, sadly. So your free tools are kind of a land grab strategy. So this is kind of what people aren't talking about. And I was really examining this as a structure, just like I was the gold rush. I was realizing how it's so very manipulated. It's so very manipulated for us to build something for them. So you have the displacement, you have the economy, you have this uncomfortable endgame, you have Goldman Sachs, 300 million jobs affected globally. All these headlines are in the news. And Sam Altman, the guy running OpenAI, okay, the front man, is personally advocating for universal basic income. Now, we've had a couple of people on the scene that have been advocating for universal basic income. But that's not philanthropy. It's stealing because it's our tax money and printed money that gets sent around to all of us. But of course, if you call it UBI or universal basic income, it doesn't sound so, I don't know, theftery. Yeah. So this is the new communism. This is the new globalism. So this is a man who knows exactly what his technology does. Well, he's the front man, and is pre-building, well, they are, the social architecture for a world where most people aren't going to work in the traditional sense. So UBI sounds generous. It is dependency at a civilization scale because you can take your 2,500 bucks a month or whatever the amount is, and hopefully you can live on it as a minor. I don't know. Can you? People can't live on Social Security. It's very, very difficult. They can, but it's very hard. And this is the control. So if you're the minor and you want the minor outcome, then you're going to learn to use AI tools because that's what you're told to do. You're going to become more productive for your employer because that's what you're told to do. You're going to help your company need fewer people because that's what you're told to do. And eventually become one of the people that they need fewer of. So I know this is a lot to take in because I'm going to go, through a couple of things here. This is the ebook that is up right now. And let me just say that a lot of people aren't going to connect the next few dots. Okay, caller, go right ahead.
Yes. So the two biggest problems with AI, and it's the ethical problem, and we have, it could be like nuclear energy, could be used for good or for harm, and also the virus, and they want to blame AI. No, it's the people using it that's going to do the harm. Now, AI can be used for good. My dentist was just telling me how it's helped in diagnosing conditions and things like that. So we have to always approach this. Is this a used to expand tyranny, for example, surveillance? And also the AI is going to probably play a really major role in the implementation of tyranny and such things as the digital ID and and monitoring your deciding what you can buy and whether you can what you can purchase and sell and so forth. But so we have to really look at it that way. So whenever we look at any issue with AI, and the other issue is you're pointing out is monopoly, just like the media, as you pointed out. When you have a monopoly of what the facts are, you're going to have they're going to be dishing out nothing but a great deal of lies. So we have to always have free markets and for the obtaining of facts and truth.
I do agree with you. Thank you. Totally reminds me of this. Isn't that an oldie? Oh boy, I play guitar. And I used to teach guitar a long, long time ago, and I used to teach this song. It's a really good beginning guitar song. Sad, sad song about the state of what we are going to find ourselves in, because I think that's a very foretelling song. But all right, so I'm gonna keep going because there's some things that we kind of need to digest here. So as a miner, you are competing in a market, right? And your AI assisted work looks identical to everyone else's AI assisted work. You're a commodity. It's replaceable. We think that we're getting a jump on it, but it's actually, you're pretty replaceable still. And I don't think people realize that. So 3 actual positions of power in the AI world are this: own equity and infrastructure, not invest in AI stocks. That's still mining, right? So you have pretty early positions in like the shovel layer. Okay. So you have data storage, you have energy infrastructure. Okay. And you have chip supply chains. Okay. So then you have to be what? You have to be what AI structurally cannot replace. And I mean, like, not be creative, like, go be creative, not like that, but there's a couple of things to do here. One is trust relationships. AI cannot have a 15-year relationship with a client. You can, though. You're a person, you're unique. As far as the physical presence goes, trades, medical hands, anything requiring, a body, hands-on work, those things cannot be replaced by AI. Legal accountability, someone that has to sign their name, cannot be. Genuine taste, a valued opinion or a valued taste. So judgment. AI doesn't have good judgment. It can't judge like a human can. We take in pieces and parts and we judge them, right? AI is not, they're not capable of that. There are a lot of holes in AI that people are not discussing. So you being an authentic you making sure that you're as authentic as you can be in what you do actually will make a huge difference for you. So, yeah, I know. And I know that as I'm talking about this, I know that I'm looking back at the past and I'm looking back at the gold mine rush. Okay. And it was a migration. Then I look at the Great Depression and how manipulated it was. And what did that bring on? It brought on FDR and the New Deal because the 30s set up the 40s, right, for that. And also the 30s brought in this this poverty level, right? So people did not know what to do, And, my dad still has the stamps. My dad was born in 1934. He still has the stamp book that they used to get for rations. Okay. And so when I'm going back in history, and you can kind of see how they curate these kinds of things, people were open to what FDR was bringing, and he's celebrated as a hero. He's no hero, but he's celebrated that way. Lots of documentaries about him, boasting him up, and making sure people honor him as a hero. He stood for America. And I heard this one the other day. He changed the soul of America. Yeah, he did. And it was dark. Yeah, it was not good. But anyway, FDR comes on the scene because people had this overnight poverty, right? It took about a year for the banks, for all of that to happen, by the way. It wasn't as instantaneous as we think it was. But over the course of a year, people started just kind of losing. Most people lost everything. And when that happened, I shouldn't say a good percentage. And it set up the mindset. Okay. And that mindset was, we will take socialism. We will take Social Security. We will take farm subsidy. We will take these things because heaven forbid that were to happen again. We don't want to be left like that. And we need safety nets. Now, in the past, basically in the 1800s, whenever somebody wanted a barn to be built or a building to be built, I know people think the Amish do this, but people did this in communities all over the place, and everyone would join in. They would make food. They made a day of it. Okay. And they would build a barn together. They would build somebody's house. They would build the construct. Okay. You didn't just go hire a contractor. The community came in to help. And everyone got a turn at that, so that they were each other's economy. And it wasn't just the Amish. I know you probably hear just the Amish have done that, but there were so many county cities doing that. And the dependency, right, upon the government to help out instead of our neighbors grew enormously during that time. So you can kind of see how they maneuver, how they work, because they had the Dust Bowl too. Now, we've talked about the Dust Bowl too. And there's some manufacturing going on with that one too. It's a whole nother show. But the Dust Bowl combined with the Great Depression, talk about a 1-2 punch, right? Talk about so many things going on at that time that would create a different kind of mindset. Okay. So OpenAI builds all these interfaces that don't need them anymore, right? The prompt engineers. So at some point here, the people that are sort of feeding the beast aren't going to be necessary because it's not, once they have built that, once that they have done that, the certain bulk of it, all those miners doing all of that, right? Well, the job is done, because at the end of this, and this is kind of sad to say, but at the end of this, you will have lost jobs. It's the point. It's the whole point. Now, on the show, we talk a lot about, digital ID, and that is part of it. Digital ID coming in. We talk about all of these control mechanisms, but I don't think we ever talk about the end game, the means to the end of AI. When people picture AI, they picture sort of this open window of trajectory, where it's going to go forever. Okay. But they don't see it as a structure, as a means to an end. Why are they highlighting it every day? Why are they talking about it every day? Why do they have you fearing it every day? Okay. Why are we so consumed with it right now? And it's in our face all the time. It's being talked about consistently. Why? Because in the mindset game of this, you are then turned into this miner. You feed the beast. You figure out ways that it can help you to get ahead for right now, but those are small pickings compared to the big structure of it. Because the end game is honestly the loss of jobs. Why? Because they're doing what they just did with FDR, but on steroids. Instead of the New Deal, this is the New Deal 0.2. When Sam Altman was talking about universal basic income, this is way more of a theme of an end game than people realize it is. We talk about the digital currency coming in. We talk about all these things coming in, but we don't necessarily concentrate on that. Why? Because the lefty loony bags out there, sorry, but it's true, love the idea of getting a paycheck. They love it. We are the laziest people on earth. So you know what? They love the idea of somebody sending them a check. And they'll live off of it, right? Because you're either going to be a miner or you're going to be in somebody that is deep into the infrastructure, and not the deep state. But what I'm talking about is you're going to go about this a different way. So the miners are going to be happy to take their miner pay from $6 to $2 an hour. They're going to be happy to do that, because the whole idea of AI isn't to utilize AI forever and ever. It was to adopt a psychological game in order to get us to do the bidding of the infrastructure that then is the catalyst for losing our jobs and then accepting anything they have to give us. Because when you're in that state, when you can't meet those high mortgages, when you can't get those high utilities, when you can't do all of that, and that's what the data centers are for, to raise that level of utility cost into shortages. When you can't do that anymore, you will, not you probably, but most people out there will actually be so excited about universal basic income. It's the only way they can bring it in. And most people are not realizing that AI is the mechanism for that. They're not seeing that. You are right now, but they're not. What they're seeing is, I'm going to use AI forever and it's going to make me money. But they will become obsolete in that game. They won't be permitted to use that infrastructure to make money forever, because it won't be needed. The market will be flooded. Okay. You guys have any thoughts about this? I'm actually really curious to know, because this is I'm the guest. Who's the guest? Me. This is my ebook. Somebody's saying that on YouTube. This is my ebook. I just put this out. Now, there's so much more to this. There's so much more to this. But this is what I'm going to do. So being a truth teller in media is a little different than being owned in media. And there's a lot of people that are owned. We've had talks about this. So what I'm going to do is, this also helps the show. And you can go grab this at katetalks.myshopify.com. katetalks.myshopify.com. The whole it's 30 pages. The whole last half of this is exactly what you do to not be the miner, but to be smart about it, because we're not seeing that part. We're not understanding this endgame part of it. Universal basic income started being brought up by the leftists running for office. You remember that? And they started kind of putting it out there. They weren't the initial authors of it, but they started kind of promoting it in little bits and pieces. But Sam Altman over AI, he has a huge desire to do it. He brings it up from time to time, but it's not being brought up all the time. So think about the Obama checks. Think about the 2020 checks. We have been completely primed, right, for this surge of universal basic income. This is coming. It's a gut punch. Now, we know AI can't fix a pipe remotely. We know AI can't wire those huge fake data centers. We know that that there's a lot of ways that you can beat this. And I'm not just talking about skilled trade. I'm talking about a lot of other things in this book, because a lot of things came up for me that I thought were kind of different than what I've heard before. So all the miners right now are learning Python. Okay, they're learning how to be in the system. The tradespeople are quietly becoming the most valuable people in the room. They don't realize it, but they are. And there'll be a lot of money to be made if you can have a skill. But this is even beyond that. So this is not just the last half of this ebook. There's way more to this. And there's way more about understanding how to position yourself for AI and what to do, and how to develop more skills that would enhance you, people coming to you, people wanting what you have, rather than you just being a miner. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because there's so much more to it than that. When I realized that AI was the catalyst for the New Deal Part 2. And this is why Trump kept saying President Trump kept saying, well, I'm going to give you checks. Remember that? When he first got into office the second time, it was like $5,000 checks. What happened to those? Nothing. But what was it for? Why was he told to say that? Because I do think he's given direction. He was told to say that as a primer. They have been priming that pump since Obama. They have been telling you payments. Government pays you, even though they don't say it's your tax dollars, but government's going to do it. And if you look at this in a kind of a different way, if you kind of understand that there's a means to the end, and there's always usually a 7-year cycle with this kind of stuff. You know, with the gold miners, it was about 7 years. Do you guys find that kind of compelling? It was about 7 years. And the story started getting out that, wait a minute, we're all in the mine and we have the shovels, but it's not exactly working out for us. Just like the Grapes of Wrath clip that I played at the beginning. There's 800 jobs, but 5,000 men are going out to get them and they don't realize it. Okay. So what we're not seeing with this is that the means to the end, there is a sort of a time on it. And you right now have about 3 years to figure out how not to be the miner. You have about 3 years to figure out how to beat that system a little bit and to play the system a little bit. But I don't mean play it like learn it and feed it. Okay, because everyone is very, very busy building. They don't even have to do anything. Everyone's building it for them. But I'm talking about how to position yourself so that you don't get sucked into being a person on the receiving end of universal basic income. There's going to be a lot of our youth that are going to welcome the idea of that. It was kind of like when people were getting Obamacare and they were getting it at a cheap rate. So cheap in the beginning, right? Not the case anymore, right? They jumped up the prices tremendously and we get less care. And I don't even call it care because I'm not a person that trusts the white coat doctors often. So, but it was interesting in the very beginning how somebody that didn't work, somebody that didn't have a job, could just leap on and get the same coverage as somebody else, although that person is paying taxes and has a job and gets the same amount of care. So they have developed this particular infrastructure for that particular reason, to be able to prime the pump and make sure that we're ready for UBI. I think there are more things leading us to universal basic income than we realize. Now, on the show, like I said, we always talk about digital ID as the sort of next tier, right? Not really the end game, but more of like, this is going to enable, more of that, right? But the CBDC, the digital overload, the digital ID, the ending of cash and all of that. But we don't think of it as in terms of the New Deal point two. The same sort of conditions were being laid out. So look back before World War II and look at what was going on. You're going to learn a lot. You can learn a lot from the manipulated events, how they construct them, how they keep us busy doing them, and where they lead us, because there's always a brain psychological factor involved to change our mindset. I can't believe how many conservatives were welcoming FDR and welcoming his completely new socialistic schedule of events that led us to this point now. When people say, I don't know how we got here, just go back to World War II. World War II changed a lot of things, and we've talked about those on the show, a lot of things. But I do find it concerning, okay? Very, very concerning that we're not seeing this like we should. And when I went down this rabbit hole, it was pretty eye-opening for me, actually. I know it sounds like a simple concept. Usually it's always right in front of your face. But I didn't really concentrate on UBI because I didn't think the people would go for it. I really didn't. I thought that this country is made up of over 60% conservative. They never say that because then they can't explain how the races are so close because of all the election fraud. But what's amazing about that is that how do you get 60% of the country to then adopt something they would never, ever want, right? Because if you look back to FDR, as much as Hollywood is going to parade it around like some sort of golden nugget that we found, and how wonderful FDR was and how wonderful those things were that saved us, they didn't really save us, because before that, we were community to community. We actually helped people. You helped your neighbor. Before you had the safety nets and the money taken from you for Social Security, you had a neighbor, you had a friend, you had a church. And that's who people went to. The government wasn't the savior and they weren't necessary. But then they wanted to make themselves necessary. Well, the government is about to make themselves more necessary than ever. And once they get everybody on universal basic income, it won't go back. When you have universal basic income, they control the amount going into your bank account. Right now, we're the minors in a way, right? All of us are in this construct of just basically in the citizenship thing. But once the government controls your paycheck, once the government puts the money in your account, they can also say you're saving too much, we're taking some out. You've bought too many of this or that, we're taking it out. You seem a little unhealthy, and I think that you need to not buy that at the grocery store. That kind of control. You visited the doctor once already. You use it. You used your allotted amount of water. The data center needs it. Why does the data center need good, clean water? Keep asking yourselves that, because I keep having those conversations with people. They don't need clean water. I don't think they need as much water as you think. So those questions are not being asked. But I will tell you that universal basic income is coming, and that AI is the construct to bring it in. AI, Obamacare, there's several things that actually work together to develop a mindset ready for AI. And I promise you, now that you have heard this, I don't think you're going to be able to unsee that. So look at the theatrics around AI. Look at the fear. Look at the amount of headlines directed toward fear that you better get on board or you will be left behind. They are desperate for minors. They're desperate for this. They want this. They want these minors. And I guess we have a choice, right? So you have a choice to be one or not. And right now, with the allotted time in this 7-year cycle of rolling AI out, you have you have a few years, a couple of years. I would say by 2029, and I usually don't predict on the show, but I will say by 2029 that we will be seeing a lot of job loss across America, a lot of job loss. It'll come in a couple different ways. It also, like you know how they combined the Dust Bowl with, the Depression? See, you kind of gotta scatter your events. I think it will be like that a little bit too. I do. I think that they're setting it up so that if it's spread out, your events are spread out a little bit, you don't question them, right? But I wanted to bring this to your attention. I also wanted to show this to you. This is available right now at katetalks.myshopify.com. The whole last half of this is exactly the steps to take and what to do so that you are not the poor miner with your hand out for the UBI. And you're not the guy that went to California seeking a job that they were promised, okay, or that they thought they were promised and ending up desolate, right? This is something that's bigger than I think what we can comprehend sometimes. And I think that we don't realize how apt people are to jump on board when they're in a crisis. And we all know that emergencies are used for crisis. So whatever's coming our way, when they're good and ready and people have built this infrastructure for them and built all the data and input for them for control, it'll be really interesting to see how they market this to us. And believe me, people will take it. They'll take it. They'll have their hand out. That's how it works. So get the ebook. It supports the show, but man, there's some great info, and there's really great info as well that you really do need to share with kids and grandkids, because, I was sharing this with my own kids. When I say kids, they're in their 20s, but I was sharing this with them because this is so vital and important to be able to understand right now. When those miners went out west, they didn't realize they were being used. They thought that it was the American dream and they were just going to go after it. And they didn't think a president would stand up and lie to them. They just didn't think that. They didn't think there was a deep state. They didn't think that there was going to be the things that transpired, but they were so used. It was the whole reason President Polk got up and said, "Go west, go find your gold." There was a whole lot there, more than meets the eye. And so they just didn't see it. And so we don't want to be that, I would imagine. I don't want to be that. You don't want to be that. So I so appreciate you tuning in. There are things that help me stay on the air and down these rabbit holes. And I have another one for Thursday that's a really important rabbit hole too. It's a strange one, but it's good. And it took me a long time. And so you can help the show. You can donate to the show. You can actually go and get Cardio Miracle. I love Cardio Miracle. I use it every single day because of, it's beet powder. It's got everything in it, all your fruits and veggies, oh my gosh, it's just packed. And I get a lot of products as a host. I get a lot of products sent to me, but this is the one I always take, and my husband always takes. And so, it's hard to get my husband to take something. So I'm telling you, he loves that product too, as much as I do. Cardiomiracle.com. You'll have energy. It's great. You'll love it. It's fantastic. And it'll feed your vitamin D and feed your body those minerals. Because right now, I think people that I'm talking, I shouldn't say everybody, but people that I talk to, one of their biggest questions is, why do I feel like crap? Why do I feel like crap? What's going on? Which is it? Is it the toxins? Is it the chemtrails? What is it? And so we'll do a show on what it is and trying to nail that down, because I think that people are walking around going, I don't have energy. I feel zapped and I feel terrible. So what am I, go to cardiomiracle.com/Kate. Okay. Put in the code word Kate, but go to cardiomiracle.com/Kate. Go get the ebooks, get the one on cancer as well. The one on cancer is amazing. It's got the most amazing information on it. If you don't want to do chemo, please go get that. It's at katetalks.myshopify.com. There's a deep dive on Disney. There's this one. This is the truth about AI and Bitcoin, but it's how to position yourself. And I want to leave you with this. Bitcoin. Okay. I didn't get into Bitcoin a lot, but I do in this booklet. Okay. This short read digital book. Why did they call them miners? I will, I wish I had like a cricket sound. The miners. They called them miners. They're miners for Bitcoin. Also used by a front man to get us to think we're in charge of our freedom and money. What are their plans with that? There's more about that in the book. This is important, you guys. This is so important because I think we need to warn people about this. I think we need to make sure people understand this little history lesson, because I have never heard anyone bring it up this way in order to sort of look at history and see how they plan and execute the structures they build and how they manipulate the masses. We know we're manipulated and brainwashed, but we don't realize that it's on a scale of so for this kind of 7 or 8 years, we're going to deploy this, and the people are going to think this way. And then for this 7 or 8 years, they're going to think this way. I always knew real estate was in those cycles of 7 years, but I never realized that this was. And I've done a hell of a lot of study. Over 38,000 hours of research on the deep state government, history, lies, you name it. But this was, oh my gosh, because I've heard it being brought up, but not really connected as AI being the vehicle. AI is the vehicle for that. It will be, sadly, the greatest job loss we'll ever see. I think it'll actually make the depression look like child's play. I really do. And CBDC and all of that are going to make Bitcoin look like child's play. I really do. And they're called miners. I just could not stop thinking about that. I was like, you have got to be kidding. It's just weird. It's just weird. I don't know what else to say. So, all right. So I will try to, there is I thought there was a link to the cancer book on my website, but somebody's saying there's not. So I'll need to make sure and put that on katedalleyradio.com, but go to katetalks.myshopify.com, katetalks.myshopify.com and go get it. Go get it right now. You're going to want to read what I have to say in the last half, because I only went through the first half. There you go. History lesson, check. Part of a structured check, and realization that we are the miners in this, that we are the miners of 1848. Sadly, check. So I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And I loved that Eddie Bernays clip at the beginning, because it says a lot, doesn't it? The Eddie Bernays clip, and how manipulated we are. It's in a lot of different ways. What can I say? And there's so much more in this booklet that I could go over, but I do want you to grab it, support the show, and help out, because there's only a few truth tellers left. So I thank you for that. And go to the website. I think the Cardio Miracle link is there. And I really appreciate you guys. Be faithful, be fearless. You can find out why I say that on the website. And KateDalleyRadio.com. Sorry, I can't think today. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll end with my intro music because I don't have my outro music today. Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow.